This week on the show, I got to talk with Elizabeth, a Facebook groups expert. And all I got to say, wow, she blew my mind. You are going to learn some of the best, simplest tricks to optimize Facebook group so that you can grow your business, not just in your own Facebook group, but how you can optimize it using other people's Facebook groups to build your audience, build your authority, and of course, to grow your business. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Glenda. How are you? It's so good to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. We get so many questions all the time about Facebook groups, and I got to see you speak in person in Phoenix. And I was like, yes, that is who we need to have on the show. So I am so excited to bring you on and talk all things Facebook groups.
Yes, I love Facebook groups. I love community building, everything in that realm. So we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I guess you know what? You kind of queued it up right there. A Facebook group.
Mhm.
Is it for selling or building community? Or is it
Uh,
both?
Both,
Okay.
100%. I mean, really good marketing is simply community building, right? You want people to see your mission, believe in your mission, want to be part of it. And Facebook groups are just a piece of the marketing puzzle. They don't need to be an end all be all, but what people don't know about Facebook groups is it's free lead generation. And if you optimize your group, which we can talk about all those steps, you can get free members, free leads, every single week or every single month without having to pay for ads or spin your wheels in those places.
Okay. I think you already have their attention. I heard free, no ads, and just optimize. So,
Yeah, yeah. And you guys in like the travel space, I mean, there's so many great visual opportunities there. There's so many great opportunities to call people in to join in on the conversations. I mean, I think this is a niche that very well aligns with this whole concept.
fantastic. So, now before we go too far into the how to set it up and other such, maybe let's talk about what it actually means to run one. Because I think it's so easy to be like, oh my goodness, I need to do this and I need to do that. And it's going to give me this, it's going to give me that. What is the meat and potatoes of actually having a Facebook group and keeping one that's going? Because a lot of times I hear from travel advisors, well, I have a Facebook group, but nobody's interacting or nobody's in there or it's just dead. What do I do with it?
Well, the good news is to keep engagement up in a Facebook group, it's really all about these like one-liner questions. Like 80% of the content can be one line or less, just a really fun question. I think people think that it needs to be another Instagram, but it's not this, people don't use it the same. It's not the same platform. They're there because they want to be seen, they want to be heard. And you can really take two different strategies. You can take the strategy of this is just a community for the sake of community, and the members are going to run it. I'm not really going to have to do a whole lot besides facilitate. Or you can take it from the angle of like, I am the community leader and I am facilitating and starting these conversations. And neither one is right or wrong. When I share about Facebook communities, it's more about capturing the lead as they join, and then it's really just create your own adventure once they're on the inside. And I spend less than an hour a week with this Facebook marketing strategy.
Fantastic. I think everybody loves to hear strategy that works and less than an hour in the same sentence.
Less than an hour a week. I mean, even less than that now that I've had it for so long.
Right? And that's just it. I was telling Elizabeth before we went live that I had swapped around some things in my own Facebook group that I have. If you're not already a member, we'll link it up in the show notes. Go find it. But it was a little bit stagnant. There wasn't a lot going on. I was doing a Facebook Live every week for the first however many months that I had it. Then I switched that over to our paid membership because I realized the value that was coming in that. And so this was something interesting. I'm going to chase a squirrel for a second. I
Yeah.
realized that inside of a free Facebook group, I was giving away too much. And then I would have travel advisors say to me, I don't need to buy anything because I can learn it all here. And I
Mhm.
thought, oh my goodness, I'm teaching travel advisors how to DIY their business when what they don't want is a DIY client. And so from the fundamental side of it, I had to switch that up. And so when I didn't have a offer, if you will, like the ability for you to come in and listen every week, I found it really hard to promote the group. And so I kind of took, like, it kind of stalled out. But then I made some shifts and some changes, and oh my heavens, it's taken off again. And
Mm,
so, how, like, and straight up, the most important thing I did is I changed the name of the Facebook group.
yes, yes.
And so, how important is the name of your Facebook group?
Yeah, I mean, the name is really step one because the name is an opportunity for people to search and find the group. And that's the biggest mistake that I see is people will name their group like Elizabeth's Amazing Community or right, come learn with Elizabeth Headset. And I'm like, nobody's really Googling or searching for my name. But what they are searching for is like how to keep my community engaged, how to build a community, Facebook groups, how to monetize a Facebook group. Those are the kind of things that they're searching for. And if you can name your group what people are actually typing in that search bar, you're going to naturally attract, leads and people to the group. And then it's really just setting it up to make sure you capture their email address. And again, this is why the gateway of people joining the group is actually more important than what happens in the group. Because if they're on your email list, now they're in your wheelhouse, right?
Yeah. And, and that kind of brings us to another question because I'm seeing it in all the other Facebook groups. What's everybody doing? Meta, everybody is bailing out of Meta. They're going elsewhere. To which I kind of chuckle that you're all having this conversation inside of a Meta platform, but that right there, like you said, you're collecting their email addresses as they're coming in. So whether Meta crashes out or whatever platform you do decide to build community on, you always want to capture those email addresses so you have them elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I really think Facebook groups and email newsletters, they worked a decade ago and they still work. They have kind of withstood the test of time where platforms like TikTok and whatever the Blue Sky, like Blue Sky, what was the other one that was like so hot for like a minute, right? The first live one, the first live streaming one.
Oh,
Can't remember the
Periscope?
name. Periscope. Yes. So those are all platforms that have not really withstood like the test of time. So
Yeah.
I can't guarantee that Facebook groups are going to survive this political climate. But what I do know is that they worked a decade ago and they still work. And I really do believe in having multiple marketing machines so that if one goes down, you're okay. And you're gathering their email address, like you
Yeah.
said. So even if it does crash, you have the ability to email every person in that group and tell them what to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's say they are going to build this group. And so you said it's just the single line question. So I kind of
Yeah.
want to loop back around to that again. And you were saying it's not Instagram. So it's not about making all of these amazing graphics and everything else.
Yeah. You don't
It's
have to
just,
brand anything. You can just use their big, ugly text boxes. I'll choose the colors that kind of feel like they fit with my brand or certain graphics or GIFs that feel like they fit with my brand. But there is no effort. Like you make a good cover photo that might have some important dates or how they can work with you. But as far as your daily or weekly post, there you don't have to brand anything. There's no extra effort. It's just one line questions. And a good example of that is you want to ask things that people can answer in any way. So, one of my favorite ones when I'm teaching people is what's one new thing you learned last week or over summer break? Tell me something you learned. Because they might say, I learned how to ride a bike, but they may also say, I learned X, Y, and Z that has something to do with your niche or the reason why they're in the group in the first place. And you're just starting these conversations where they have the opportunity to share something that you might chime in on or you might not, but you're getting to know them either way.
I love that because you're asked like oh, I never even thought of that. Like asking questions that aren't even leading to anything.
Yeah. I mean, you're building a community. So when you have a community, if you were to have an event, for people in your niche, chances are you're going to do icebreakers, you're going to have lunch. There's going to be opportunities for people to connect and get to know each other outside of just like content, 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 right?
Yep. Oh, I love that. And the reality is people love to talk about themselves.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
So give them
They
a
love
chance,
to talk about themselves and they love to feel like they're part of something that's bigger than them.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So we are less than an hour. You're just asking
Yep.
them questions. And for myself, in one of the things that I've shifted is I honestly I just think of something, I'm like, ooh, I would love to make a podcast on something. So I will ask a question that will lead to the answers that
Yeah.
I like, that question is going to give me the things that I'm going to build my podcast content out of.
Yeah. I mean, even this conversation, you could just say, hey, who's already using a Facebook group?
We
Boom.
may have done that.
Okay, awesome. Right. And then the when people are engaging, then it might be like, ooh, okay, who's actually getting leads in their Facebook group? Kind of stuff are you guys posting? What's working? What's not working? I mean, there's so many different rabbit holes you can go down in that conversation.
Yeah. And that's just it, because then it becomes a conversation. So you can ask this question, and then you can follow it up with this question, and then you can follow it up with that question, and maybe intersperse some other ones into there as well along
Yeah.
the way. Now, one thing I've noticed is the more engagement, so the more that I ask questions, so therefore the more they answer questions, the more somehow when they get to the questions to come into the group, it says, how'd you hear about us? Facebook.
Mm.
And the more I get them talking inside of the group, the more people that come and find me where Facebook told them to come find me.
Yeah, so that's a really good sign. That means you're playing the algorithm, you're playing Facebook's game, so they're showing your group to people. And, I this used to be all I did. I did this like kind of high level consulting for big companies and running their Facebook groups and all this stuff. And that's what would happen is when you do something right, and again, it's like really hard to nail down exactly what that is, but I think it has to do with the title and the niche, and all of a sudden your group is in the sidebar, and now you can start to see these bigger buckets of people joining. We had 40 overnight one time in one of these groups,
Yeah.
and with no call to action on your own platform. So that can happen, and big groups are great, but there's a sweet spot with these groups that are like 200 to 800 members, where 40 to 60% of those people are seeing your posts.
Oh, wow.
And on Instagram, it's 2%. Even the Instagram professionals will tell you 2% of your people are actually seeing your post. So if you have a Facebook group and you can really capitalize on that 40 to 60%, I mean, that's gold. People are actually going to see what you have to say.
That's awesome. And I do love that you can at everyone, but please don't at everyone on a regular basis, because that's going to chase people out of there. I do it about once a month, usually when I announced, because I still do once a month, I do a Facebook live in there on a specific topic. And so I will do an at everyone, because Facebook no longer allows me to invite them all.
Mhm.
And it's just simply because I know that there's high value in that, and I want to make sure that they all see it.
Yeah, same. I mean, if you just use it on something that's really of service and really going to help them, and most people on Facebook have started to realize, like when they get that notification that's like, Glinda has tagged you and others, right? You can see that part of
Yeah.
the sentence, and then you can decide if you want to go click on it. Whereas, like, when that first rolled out, people were getting annoyed because they were like, it says that she's tagging me and she's not. She's tagging everyone. But I feel like if you just turn that little piece of your brain on to look at that whole
Yeah.
sentence, it's really no more distracting than any other Facebook notification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to limit how often you do that,
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
because we all had that friend when Facebook was newer. I'm thinking like 8 years ago, and they would tag you in every photo they ever posted.
Yeah.
And so you really questioned whether or not you needed to be their friend still. I feel
Yeah.
like a Facebook group, when you at everyone all the time, you don't want to be that friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say, if it's of service, if it's somehow a give, if it's, giving them an opportunity to help them, not like on every single conversation starter, right?
Awesome. So now we're going to ask questions just about them as a whole, and getting to know what it is that they do.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do for work? Like, what's your career, or what's your whatever? That lets you get to know them a little bit more, because it also helps you to better understand. I know for myself with travel advisors, I've done a lot in the last while. Are you full time, side hustling, part time?
Mm.
Like, because it also lets me know what kind of content to create.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, what are you shopping for the holidays? Or, I even did some fun ones with like, how do you like your coffee? Because I'm like this weird person that I can drink coffee black or I can drink it sweet. Like, I love having those conversations. And again, you don't want the group to be only that, or you're like, okay, this is engagement bait.
Yep.
But I do think there's opportunities to just have people have a little bit of fun and get to know each other and really have it feeling, like a community.
Absolutely. And there's some really like you were saying earlier too, to find things out about them because there is some good data in there. Um, have you like if your niche is Europe, have you been to Italy? Or
Yeah.
what was if you've been to Italy, what was your favorite thing? If you haven't been, what do you want to see? Like, because it's gonna get you because so often we sit down and whether it's to write our blogs, do our podcasts, do our social, like whatever it is, it's like, oh my goodness, there's so much here. But anytime you can kind of crowdsource information, what do
Yeah.
people love? What do people want to know about? You can ask people if you've never been to Europe, why?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Exactly. And these are things that are like totally relevant to your niche, but also just really interesting. And people want to talk about themselves. They want to learn. They want to be part of this conversation. Absolutely. And even if you're just engaging in groups and not necessarily leveraging your own group, my biggest tip is always like on your actual Facebook personal profile, make sure it's really easy to find what you do and how to work with
Mm.
you because everyone's clicking over. And I've done research around this, and my highest performing, freebie or landing page is the one that's attached to my personal Facebook profile. And that's from
Oh.
engaging in groups and just answering these questions that we're talking about, or my mom's group, or whatever it might be. People are clicking over. When you say something interesting, they want to know more about you. And so many people hide what they do for whatever reason because they don't want to mix it with their personal life. But I'm like, no, if this is your passion and your purpose, like scream it from the mountaintops, make it really easy to find.
Okay. You've just set me off on like a whole new trail because, I'm thinking of like the Disney and the family vacations and other such. They're hanging out like on the mommy groups.
Hmm.
So you're saying that on their personal profile to
Yeah,
have a link somewhere is in there that would be 5 ways to make traveling with your kids more enjoyable or eat like
100%. And here's
oh
the coolest part that most people don't know. You can actually customize your personal group header for a particular group. So if I'm engaging in a Disney-based moms group, I can then change my cover photo and my bio that'll say like I help moms make planning their Disney vacation easy. And then the bio, and that's only going to show up in that Disney based group. And then you could do it separate for an Ireland group or whatever it might be. You can play around with this. So, you guys that are listening, go to Facebook in a group and click on somebody's profile. And then you know how you have to click again, view their personal profile. It's because they have a group profile, and then you have to click again to go to their personal profile. Have you ever noticed you have to click that twice?
yes, you are
Yes.
blowing my mind on so many
Yes.
levels
And
right
that's
now.
why you have to go twice because that first profile is their group activity. It's what they do in that particular group. And it's there. And this is so awesome for coaches. Like, I'm a coach in James Wedmore's
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
So when people click on my bio in his group, I can have a special, Team Wedmore bio, but it's not visible once they click over to like, let's go actually learn about Elizabeth Henson, right? It's genius. And most people don't actually know that that's a thing.
Oh my God. My mind is blowing. Like
Yeah.
suddenly I'm like, okay, and what was available for the rest of my day today? Because I have a bunch of bios to build now.
Yeah, and use your instead of using Facebook's like pinned section for groups, use a bookmark in like your Chrome or your Safari and
Okay.
call it Facebook groups for networking. And then build out like your 10 or 20 top groups that you like to engage in. And then that way, when you have downtime, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, you just use those bookmarks instead of having to like, what group was I in again? Which Disney group did I like the best? And you can actually just
Whoa.
bookmark those. Yeah. So as a business coach, I bookmark like a lot of groups where like
Right.
creative business owners hang out, right? And I could just go see what they're talking about or see what's going on or whatever. Yeah.
Brain
I love
blowing.
it. I love like I could see the light bulb moment. Yeah. And it's so simple. Like this is like people are just slamming their head against the wall, creating all these reels. And I'm like, it can be easier, y'all.
I am not normally at a loss for words, but my brain is so blowing right now. I can't even formulate full questions anymore. Like,
Yeah. Well, I know you did ask me before we got online about shiny objects. So like let's
right?
talk because like right now everyone listening is probably having the same reaction with you and they're
Right?
like, "Oh shoot, I
Yeah.
gotta drop everything. I'm now leaving money on the table because I don't have a Facebook group and I haven't optimized my profile, right?" So like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, everybody's freaking out. So let's talk about shiny objects and like when do I need to hire someone to help me with all these things. I firmly believe that like you already have everything you need. You have what you need. I have what I need. We don't want to be making these decisions from this, I'm distracted, I'm leaving money on the table type of place. It needs to feel like that full body. I already have everything I need. And I really want to learn this new skill to like work into my marketing machine because this is just part of it. Like I'm never going to tell someone go all in on Facebook groups, forget about Instagram. But if you have both, you don't have to work so hard on Instagram. And you can really leverage your email newsletter to say, Glinda just asked me this really great question inside my group today. Go check it out. And that's another way to keep that engagement up is by leveraging that email newsletter to remind people what's kind of going on in the group. And it's a circle, right? You're just
Yeah.
building like these marketing touch points.
Yeah.
It's not like this is all you need or this is all you need. You don't need to be on all the platforms, but you do want like this, it's almost like first base.
Yeah.
Instagram is first base. Anybody who finds my Instagram profile, it's very surface level. They're most likely not taking action. But then if they get in my Facebook group, that's like second base. They've had to click a little more. They had to give me their email address, right? So they're a warmer lead. So it's really about like, let's make it a circle. Let's close the loop. Let's build a marketing machine and not like, oh shoot, I've got to do this or I'm losing out. Like we don't want it to come from that like urgency place. Like it's all fine. It's all
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry. My mind is still blowing.
She's like, I believe you and I'm running to change this.
It's just, it's one of those things. I'm like, why do I have to double click? I had no idea. I like to
Yeah.
consider myself pretty in the know, but
Yeah.
again, this is why I always go to experts on things.
Yeah.
Because even if that's all anybody gets out of it,
Yeah.
they're already engaging in these groups. So you are changing nothing
Nothing.
other than
Five
that
minutes.
10 minutes to set up your new profile in your favorite groups and just do it one at a time.
Yeah.
And a great way. So if we were to go next level, if you will, set up a different profile for each group so that you can also see which one is getting you the right or the getting like where is it converting. I
Yes.
know when I do keynotes and presentations for different companies, when I give a freebie with it, they get a special landing page because I tag, and then I know in the back end where did people come from, and I can track which ones are the higher converting. I
Yes.
know my podcast is the biggest driver for getting people into, well, it was getting people into my Facebook group. And
Yeah.
if they came into the Facebook group via the podcast, the percentage or the likelihood of them converting to a sale was significantly higher and significantly faster. I
Yeah.
also have other ones I've done presentations for. I know I rock the presentation because people have talked about it, but yet the conversion off of it has been by far the lowest. So
Yes.
when I know that and I get asked to do things, there is one company in particular, every time I speak for them, I get a big influx and they are the highest converting. So if they
Yeah.
ask me for something, it is a hell yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And immediately versus there's this other one that if they ask, I'd be like, I don't think that's going to fit in my schedule because it didn't do anything on my end. I
Yeah.
I laid it all out for them, but it didn't do anything on my end. And
Yeah.
so when I have that data, I know. So if you are having these individual Facebook profiles for each group, now keeping in mind, nothing converts overnight. This is a
Right.
long term strategy. You're playing the long game.
Yeah.
But if after 6, 12 months, you're like, this one group, I get asked lots of questions, nobody's coming to me through that group.
Yeah.
You know that you can scale back. It doesn't mean you have to leave it or stop participating at all, but scale back the time you're putting there, because group B over here, you may not be having as many conversations or answering as many things, but oh my goodness, look at what's coming in, because they're opting in through here, they're coming in through this one, and they can see it. And when
Yeah.
you know that, you know where to put more effort, you know where to put more energy. Or better yet, you can look at it and say, okay, so group A, I'm not getting much, group B, I am. Is the conversation different in group A versus group B? And do a little bit of self-reflection. Am I just coming straight into group A, pitching, 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 pitching? Or in group B, am I exchanging value for, like, am I being more like, what am I saying differently? How am I coming across? And be able to have that a bit of reflection, because that's only going to help you grow in other areas too.
Yeah. And are they attracting is the community slightly a different group of
Mhm.
moms or whatever? Maybe this one is more affluent and this one is not, but that's just being a smart business owner. And that's why I leaned into Facebook over Instagram, because same thing. I was really tracking the data and the numbers of where people were coming from. And I was like, gosh, my personal Facebook profile performs really well. Right. So I'm over here like spending too much time on Instagram when really this is performing. So I like doubled down on the Facebook stuff. And Instagram is like, okay, that's a great top of funnel. That's a great way for people to find me and get to know me. But like you said, they're listening to my podcast and they're in my Facebook group. They're on a whole nother level of that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I really wish we would have recorded this last week, because on the weekend I removed myself from so many Facebook groups.
That's okay.
And now I'm like, if I would have known this profile, I could have, because I knew there was value, but at the same time, I am a big believer. I don't want to do a lot in somebody else's platform. So let's
Yeah.
maybe talk about, how do you walk that balance? If you were in somebody else's platform, you
Yeah.
don't want to just be poaching. So if another travel
Yeah.
advisor owns that Facebook group, I don't think you should necessarily be putting anything
No,
in there.
no. I'm talking like, let's get in the mom groups. Let's get in, the YMCA community group or whatever. Like, where are your people hanging out, right? Like, I don't need to be in another business coaches group, right? But I
Mhm.
need to be hanging out where the creative business owners are. Maybe it's a wedding pros group or a painters group, right? So that I'm not doing the same thing as the facilitator. I'm adding value to the community. And that's a good way to really think about the difference. Like, am I adding value just by being in the room, or am I kind of doing the same thing as the person leading? Because then they're not going to pay
Right.
attention to you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, something that came back when I did ask the questions about being in Facebook groups and stuff, and I had some of them like, oh, yeah, I'm in all of them. I post all of my deals in all the buy and sells and everything else.
Yeah. I would say, how's that working for you?
Right. Okay, that's a nicer way. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So,
How's that working for you? Because I mean, I know, I've been in business for 10 years. So I went through my phase of doing that and it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work.
no.
Yeah.
You will get the ones that want the cheap deal, but you are in a race to the bottom if your
Yeah.
leading marker is the deals.
Yeah.
So one of the things, um, just to kind of to summarize things here. So again, it's understanding who it is that you want to have that conversation with, because you can't be in 17,000 Facebook groups. You
Yeah.
have to know who it is that you want to talk to. If you want to do family trips, you want to be in the mommy group. If you want to do pickleball trips, you want to be in the pickleball, like, you want to be where your people are hanging out. Now, if they have an idea of what they're looking for, they kind of know what are some of, like, for travel, what would be kind of like a sideline or something like that, like a non-travel group, non-mommy group, that would
Yeah.
be something that they should be looking for.
Yeah, maybe it's like wellness retreats, right? Or like a wellness group, a self-care. if your niche is not families, it's like, well, then you still defined your ideal client somehow,
Mhm.
right? That's part of the work. That's part of being a business owner is knowing what are your people like and where are they hanging out? What kind of TV shows are they watching? What are they doing on the weekends? Do they like sports? There's so many different places that they could be hanging out that you can also hang out and be part of those conversations. Sometimes you don't even have to talk about what you do. You just engage in the conversation
Yeah.
and then they click over to your profile.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's really the biggest key is it's not, you don't want to come across as the smartest person in the room.
yeah.
You just want to come across as somebody engaging. It's leading with that curiosity. It's
Yes.
leading with curiosity about other people. It's leading with things that make people curious about you. And
Yeah.
that's where that individual profile, which totally blew my mind, I will get over it at some point. But right now, I am so trapped on that.
Oh my God. And I don't even take full advantage of it. I'm like, oh, I'm in that mom's group quite a bit. I should probably change that one. It's like
Right.
we're all like human beings doing all the human
Right.
things, and I don't want people to like drop everything else they're
No.
doing to go engage
Yeah.
in these groups, but a lot of us are doing it naturally.
Yeah.
We're already there. So
Yeah.
why not just like tweak that a little bit? And
Yep.
at the end of the day, it's just how can it be really crystal clear and easy for people to see what you do and how you help people?
Even just taking it out of the business, because the local mommy group is not one that I'm going to find my clients in, but I'm just thinking from a volunteer perspective, because I sit on a board where we do some amazing activities for families. I'm like, oh, we'll be switching
Mm,
that profile for each upcoming event, so
yeah.
that people, and I'll be like, hey, go check out. And like, we have a women in business. So I'll be linking, like, oh, there's
Yeah.
so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
and
you
it's
just want when someone needs you
right.
and you appear in front of them, is
Yeah.
it easy for them to see that yes, you're the person, right? Or are they having to like click? I mean, it'll drive me crazy because someone will say something that I'm like, oh, I love what they said, and then I click over and their profile's on like super duper lockdown, and I don't even know if they have a business.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Yep.
So
And
you don't want to
actually,
be
the
that.
the amount of travel advisors that I work with that have 17 other careers in their profile and none of them are travel, and they're like, I can't find anybody. I'm like, because nobody
Yes.
knows you exist.
Right. Right.
It's sort of
Exactly.
like saying I run a business or I own a business, but I'm still in mama's basement and I haven't told anybody.
I haven't told anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it
And
easy to find because people are only going to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. And when you're hiding it, it doesn't look like you believe in yourself.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's where we leave that one.
Little
Um,
mic drop there.
right. It is. And I am releasing a podcast very shortly, after the time of recording this, that is very much on that. So this one may just get moved up so that it plays the week after,
Yeah.
to link them together. So I love it.
I love that.
So if people have more questions, how can they find you?
Yeah, so they can search for my Facebook group. It's called the Community Builder on Facebook. Or if you already have your Facebook group and you just want some of my conversation starters, I have a list of 25 of those really good conversation starters, and that's at elizabethhenson.co/free guide.
Love
And you
it.
can download those conversation starters and just be off to the races.
I love it. And the name of your Facebook group again?
The Community Builder.
Perfect. I genuinely think the name is so important. I was using a name that somebody had told me to use and they were in marketing, this, that, the other. So I went with it. And then I'm like, I don't like the name. And so I changed it and it's called Building Your Travel Business for Travel Agents.
Ooh,
Now,
perfect.
I believe they should be called travel advisors. People who are building their business don't consider themselves an advisor yet. They call themselves a travel agent. So they Google for travel agent. So
Yeah.
again, when you're building your name, put it for something they're looking for.
Something they're searching.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, mine might have a couple other words, community builder for the something, something or others,
Yeah.
but it's like, that's all you have to search to get it to pop up. And
Yeah.
if you want to play around and see what's popping up when you search for groups, just use Facebook's search engine and then select groups and you can
Yeah.
see what's already coming up in the space, in your niche or
Love
whatever it might
it.
be. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Until next
Yeah.
time, guys, happy selling.
Thanks for